Hi, my name is Marcus Silvis, and I'll be discussing organizational change, moving from a 5 day to a 4 day work week. The contents of this presentation was a group effort, and I'd like to highlight the rest of the team: Sarah E. Choate, Sandra F. DeTusa, Troy D. Glover, and Augustus P. Stark. In this presentation, I will discuss the change, moving from a 5 day work week to a 4 day work week, the goal of a 4 day work week, the key players and stakeholders, the responses and impact from the bottom up and top down, strategies to approach the change, the evolution of the change, and recommendations in regards to the aspects of the change. Now, let's talk about the change moving to a 4 day work week. Moving to a 4 day work week would trim hours worked per week from 40 hours to a week to 32 hours a week. The advantages of this is it could attract better workers, reduce commute time and expenses, and businesses can see an increase in work productivity. Happy workers may be more loyal to the company. It will reduce overwork and underemployment and levels of economic and social inequality. Um, the Center for Disease Control linked people working overtime with increased rate of illness. Um, Illnesses such as weight gain, alcohol use, illness, injury, and death. Um, Perhaps reducing the number of hours worked per week can assist in decreasing these types of illnesses. Workers believe they can get their work done in less time. HR consulting firm Robert Half found that 66% of all workers wanted to work less than 5 days a week, and only 17% of workplaces offer that option. The goal of the 4 day work week, based on the research, would be to increase productivity. Um, with that increased productivity, it'll be an incentive based approach that is mutually beneficial for the business and employee. Studies show employees are more engaged. It'll reduce the drop in productivity for employees working more than 40 hours, and it would increase the overall output quantity. When discussing work life balance, it will reduce stress and add family time. It would also provide autonomy to workers and allow them to participate in events they would otherwise miss, such as school events or a much needed exercise regimen. It would increase efficiency since less resources will be utilized, and it would improve the quality of the output. Lastly, it will reduce cost. Employees are more likely to maintain their position in lieu of an employer who does not offer the same benefit, reducing retraining costs to hire new employees. Or, in other words, it would reduce turnover. When we're talking about increasing productivity, Microsoft in Japan found a 40% increase in productivity. 6 week trial done in New Zealand that involved 16 different offices, which involved 250 workers, found a 20% increase in productivity. When discussing work life fit, workers would be happier, less stressed, and therefore more productive. In a New Zealand study, found that there was a 24% improvement in their work life balance and a 7% decrease in their stress levels. Now let's talk about the key players and stakeholders. Employees will be impacted by this change because the goal is to increase work life balance, have a happier and more productive work base due to a more stable work environment, and personal time. Business owners will benefit through increase of customer satisfaction and therefore increase in revenue. For example, Microsoft reports a 40% increase in productivity due to the change. All of the stakeholders, which includes investors, suppliers, vendors, and customers, make a contribution to the organization, and therefore they will take risks when implementing the change. Investors are more likely to want to invest in a company because increased productivity eliminates waste. Suppliers and vendors will partake in improved business relationships, and customers will purchase better products due to reduction in errors, in the production and increasing quality. Next, we'll talk about responses. First, we'll talk about impact from the bottom up. The HR consulting firm Robert Half found that a shorter work week motivated employees to find ways of increasing their productivity while working, such as decreasing meetings to 30 minutes. They also would be honest and tell colleagues when they were being a distraction during meetings. 78% of workers believe they could work about 7 hours a day when being uninterrupted. If organizations can fix these problems, then there is no excuse for companies not to have a 4-day work week and to not be as efficient as possible. The Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development found that productivity is highest when people work fewer hours and worker output actually drops once people clock in more than 48 hours per week. The Center for Disease Control also linked higher overtime hours, which increase rates of illness, injury, death, and also weight gain. Having a 4-day work week increases the productivity, which in turn deliver high output, and at the same time gives employees the benefit of work-life balance. As for the response from the top down, the company founder of Perpetual Guardian, which is one of the offices involved in a New Zealand study, found that there was no downside. The right attitude was required to make it work, and a commitment from everyone involved was required to create a viable long term model for their business. The founder also noted that by the end of the 6 week trial, team engagement increased 20%, and this also motivated employees to increase their productivity. Many companies are scared to take this chance because everyone is used to a 5-day work week. Now let's talk about the strategies approaching the change. There was a study done called The Case for a 4-Day Work Week, and it asked individuals from several countries where they think they are wasting time every day. 86% of these individuals said that they waste time the most on tasks that are unrelated to their core job. When implementing a 4-day work week, it is crucial that the managers set the tone and make sure employees are comfortable not being held accountable for work on their day off. Managers also need to be on the same 4-day schedule too. It is also good to listen to feedback of the employees so management can figure out what is working and what isn't working. Let's talk about the evolution of this change. When we talk about industrialization, average weekly working hours reduced from 50 hours to 40 hours since 1930. Many European countries adopted a 35-hour work week by the 1970s. The US had interest of a 4-day work week, and that interest peaked in 1973, but it leveled by 1975. Technological advancements make shorter work weeks possible, and legislators look for ways to decrease energy costs and pollution. So the current trend is since more research is being done, it is likely that the average work week will reach 35 hours per week by the year 2030. As for recommendations, there's a possibility that in some cases a 10-hour work week will see a drop in productivity as the day progresses due to long hours. Different job types may experience this in varying amounts. For instance, 10 hours in a physically demanding job may exacerbate the productivity rates decline more so than an office job. More analysis should be conducted to determine which method is best for productivity and worker wellness. Outside services will also need adjustments for the implementation for this new method to be feasible. Without changes in things such as childcare, some workers may find it impossible to apply this change. When it comes to application in one's business or workplace, trial runs with a pretest and post-tests are recommended. Analyzing the employee satisfaction with simple scales and productivity with site-specific means, a business can easily determine what is best for their specific situation. In conclusion, conduct some trial runs and see if a 40-week work week works for your business. It is possible that you can retain your employees for longer, reduce turnover, have a healthier staff, and have a less stressed staff overall. Thank you.